There are three things to consider when you're first setting up your Revit project. One would be the project origin point. Now, the origin point is the spot in three-dimensional space that your building resides. The second thing would be your levels. Your levels control the overall elevation of different objects inside of your building, as well as which floor plans will appear underneath your project browser. And the third thing are your structural grid locations. Technically, the structural grid locations don't need to be established at this point, but I always like to place structural grid A and 1 initially inside of the project, just to allow our project team to be able to build off of those locations. It also allows us to establish a location for our origin point. Technically, the three-dimensional origin point does not have to be at the intersection of our structural grids, but I usually like to place it there, and the reason for that is that it means that the project team will always know where the project base point is actually located at, usually at the intersection of A and 1 for the structural grids. And we'll go ahead and go through that process of setting up our origins, levels, and grids. Now, the first thing I like to do is set up our levels. And to do that, we need to go to an elevation view. So underneath the project browser, scroll down until you can find your south elevation, and then just double click on the word south. Zoom in by spinning the wheel of the mouse to see your level 1 and level 2. What I'd like to do is make a small adjustment to level 2 so this was 9 foot instead of 10 foot. So we'll click where it has the level 2, click on the 10 foot, and then type in 9 feet. And click somewhere over here. Now I'm going to zoom out by spinning the wheel of the mouse, and then add another level here inside of our elevation view. To accomplish that, underneath the Architecture tab, we need to select on Level. Now, before we click inside of this white area, make sure that Make Plan View has a check mark next to it. That's the thing that automatically generates a new plan view underneath your project browser. Also, whenever you have Make Plan View checkmarked, it'll activate the Plan View Types button. If you select on Plan View Types, you'll notice that there are currently three different items that are highlighted. Let's clear the structural plan information. The reason is that if structural plan had been highlighted, then we would have a new structural floor plan underneath the project browser. And for this project, all I want is just a regular architectural floor plan and a regular architectural ceiling plan. And we'll click on OK. Let's place one of those levels 10 feet above level 2. Click here, come straight across, click again. I'll hit escape a couple times on the keyboard to get out of the command, and we'll zoom in to see, in fact, we do have level 3 10 feet above level 2. And now that we've placed level 3 in, if we look underneath the project browser, we'll notice that we have ceiling plans, level 3, floor plans, level 3. And that's because floor plans and ceiling plans have been highlighted in that previous dialog box. Now, at this stage, I would usually rename my levels by selecting on the levels, renaming them to be first floor, second floor, third floor, whatever was appropriate. But for this project, we'll just leave them as level 1, level 2, and level 3. Let's go to our level 1 floor plan. Double click on level 1, and the next thing that I'd like to do is place in our structural grids, A and 1, and have them cross over each other. So here in the Architecture tab, or on the Structure tab if you'd like, select on Grid. Come over here to the right-hand side, click, come straight across, click. Come down here toward the bottom, click, come straight up, click. Make sure that they're crossing each other. When they do, zoom in here, then hit escape a couple times on the keyboard to get out of any sort of structural grid placement. What I like to do now is select on number 3 and then change that to be A. We'll change this one to be 1. After accomplishing that, we'll zoom back out again. And now we can see that we have our structural grids and they're crossing over each other. And now our project teams could come back in here and start to add their own structural grids from here. The reason why we wanted to place these structural grids right now is that the next step in the process is to make visible our project base points. And we can do that by going to the visibility graphics. All you need to do is either type the letter VG for visibility graphics on the keyboard, or just the letter V twice for visibility. Once you have your visibility graphics overrides dialog box open, scroll down until you can find site. Click the little plus next to site, and then put a check mark next to your project base point and your project survey point. Once you have your survey point and project base point checked, click on OK. And now we can see both of those points here right in the middle of our screen. What I'd like to do is move those points to the intersection of 1 and A. And this will specify where in three-dimensional space our project is located at. Click to select on the project base point, then click the little paperclip symbol. And what clicking the little paperclip symbol will allow us to do is move the project base point without moving 1 and A anywhere. Basically, it's going to allow us to move this point to the correct location without moving 1 and A along with it. Click on Move command. Right here in the middle, click. Come over here to the intersection of these two. And now we've moved that up to that intersection. Next thing I'd like to do is come over here and then click where we have the paperclip again. Click the north-south and change that to be 0. And then just click somewhere out here. Notice how the grid is now moved down to move along with the northing and easting, which is located here at the project base point. For the east-west, let's do the same thing. Click, make that be a 0. Now notice how all this is now lining up with one another. The next thing I'd like to do is change the overall elevation to be 100 feet. Click. Now, our project base point is 100 feet in the air, and A in 1 is at 0, 0 in Cartesian coordinates. Zoom out, we can now see that we have our project base point in the right location, we have our initial structural grids in place, and underneath our project browser, we have each of our initial levels that we need to start creating our project.